Once upon a time, in a lush forest, there lived an armadillo named Tito. Tito was known by all the animals as the biggest complainer in the region. If it was sunny, he would complain about the heat making the ground burn his paws. If it rained, he would grumble about the mud sticking to his shell. Pleasing Tito was an impossible mission, as he always found something to criticize, as if it were a sport for him. His comments were always accompanied by deep sighs and disdainful looks. Over time, Tito's closest friends began to notice how his constant complaints affected the environment around them. The joy and lightness of the forest seemed to vanish when Tito was nearby. They tried to advise him to be more positive, suggesting activities he might enjoy, such as a peaceful sunbath or a fun run in the rain. But Tito wouldn't listen, thinking he was just expressing his honest opinions. His relatives also noticed his behavior and repeatedly tried to explain to him how his habit of complaining was impacting his relationships. However, Tito believed they were exaggerating and continued with his daily complaints. Gradually, his relatives started to distance themselves, tired of his constant pessimism. His cousin, Sam the squirrel, who used to play with him in the trees, now preferred the company of other animals. Olga the owl, who loved talking with Tito about the mysteries of the forest at night, began to avoid their conversations. Despite the distancing, Tito didn't care, continued his routine of complaining about everything and everyone. He didn't realize the loneliness beginning to form around him. Tito still found new friends who thought his complaints were funny or simply didn't mind. However, the cycle repeated. After a while, Tito's new friends also began to feel the negative impact of his constant complaints and distanced themselves, leaving Tito increasingly alone. One day, while Tito was walking through the forest, he noticed something different. The silence around him was deafening. The bird songs seemed distant, and the whisper of the leaves in the wind no longer brought him comfort. He realized he no longer had anyone to hear his complaints. All his friends and relatives had distanced themselves. He began to feel the loneliness weighing on his heart like a stone. It was then that Tito realized that his complaints were driving away everyone he loved. Determined to change, Tito began to observe his own behavior more closely. He realized that by complaining, he not only pushed his friends away, but also fed his own negativity, turning the natural joy of the forest into a dark place. It was a moment of epiphany for Tito, who decided he no longer wanted to live that way. Tito started practicing gratitude every day, trying to find something good to appreciate. At first, it was difficult because he was so used to complaining that finding positive things seemed like a Herculean task. He began with small steps, thanking the sun for warming his back and the rain for refreshing the soil. But over time, he improved. Gradually, Tito began to notice changes in himself. He felt lighter and happier. The small things that used to irritate him were now seen from a new perspective. The beauty of the flowers, the bird songs, the brilliance of the stars, everything seemed more vivid and enchanting. Tito learned to value the simple moments in life and to see the positive side of situations. With this change, Tito's friends and relatives began to notice the difference. Gradually, they started to come closer, curious and happy about Tito's transformation. He was grateful for having a new chance to show everyone that he could be a good friend and a good relative. Tito's new friends also noticed his change and began to reapproach him. They were impressed with Tito's willpower to change his behavior. Tito became an example of overcoming and resilience for everyone in the forest. Over time, Tito became a happier and more balanced animal. He still had his opinions, but he learned to express them constructively without letting complaints take over his life. Tito now inspired other animals to also look for the positive side of things. This story teaches us that changing a negative behavior can be difficult but not impossible. Tito showed that with determination and self-awareness, it is possible to transform one's own life and the relationships around us. He proved that instead of complaining, we can find reasons to be thankful. And so, Tito lived his days more lightly and happily, knowing that his journey of self-discovery and change made him a better armadillo and more loved by all. The forest was never the same after Tito's transformation, the armadillo who stopped complaining to become an example of positivity and resilience. Tito's story is a powerful reminder of how our attitudes can profoundly impact our lives and the lives of those around us. Initially, Tito did not realize how his constant complaints were poisoning his relationships and creating a cycle of negativity. However, his journey of transformation teaches us that with determination and self-awareness, it is possible to change negative behaviors and create a more fulfilling and harmonious life. In daily life, it is easy to fall into the trap of focusing on the negative aspects of life. Small inconveniences can seem like huge obstacles, and it is natural to want to express frustration. However, as Tito discovered, constantly complaining does not solve problems. It only pushes people away and feeds negativity. The Bible teaches us in Philippians 2 verses 14 to 15, "Do everything without grumbling or arguing, so that you may become blameless and pure, children of God without fault in a warped and crooked generation. Then you will shine among them like stars in the sky." On the other hand, practicing gratitude can transform our perspectives. When Tito started to focus on the good things around him, he not only improved his own emotions but also rebuilt his relationships. Gratitude helps us recognize and value the blessings we have, no matter how small. In 1 Thessalonians 5 verse 18, we are advised, "Give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus." Tito's story also reminds us of the importance of self-awareness and humility. Admitting that we need to change is the first step to any true transformation. Tito showed courage by recognizing his destructive behavior and striving to become a better version of himself. Proverbs 28 verse 13 says, "Whoever conceals their sins does not prosper, but the one who confesses and renounces them finds mercy." By cultivating an attitude of gratitude and positivity, we can not only improve our own lives, but also create a more harmonious and loving environment for those around us. Tito the Armadillo showed us that it is possible to leave behind negative habits and build a brighter future. May we all follow his example and find reasons to be thankful, even in the most challenging situations.